Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, make sure you catch the first episode by clicking the link at the top of your screen. You won't regret it. Now, let's dive right back into Muna and Minho's world, where love and danger walk hand in hand. The wedding reception glittered with champagne and whispered secrets. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across faces that smiled too wide, eyes that watched too closely. Muna sat beside her new husband, the weight of the ring on her finger both foreign and strangely comforting. Minho's hand rested possessively on her waist as business associates approached, congratulating them with words that felt rehearsed. She noticed how his grip tightened whenever a man's gaze lingered too long on her dress, the elegant white fabric that hugged her curves in ways that made her self-conscious. One man, tall with silver-streaked hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes, extended his hand toward Muna. "Congratulations, Mrs. Young. Your husband is a very lucky man." Before she could respond, Minho's voice cut through the air, smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. "She's taken, Sung-ho. As you can clearly see." The man withdrew his hand, chuckling awkwardly before melting back into the crowd. Muna glanced up at her husband, catching the dangerous glint in his eyes. "You didn't have to be so harsh. With men like him," Minho murmured, his lips close to her ear. "Harshness is the only language they understand." The reception continued with its endless parade of guests, but Muna felt increasingly out of place. These people belonged to Minho's world, a world of power plays and hidden threats, of loyalties bought and sold like commodities at market. Ji-woo appeared at her side during a quiet moment, her face glowing with genuine happiness. "You look beautiful, my lady. Like a queen." Muna smiled, grateful for the familiar face. "I feel like an imposter." "You're not," Ji-woo assured her, adjusting the train of her dress. "You're exactly where you're meant to be. I can see it in the way he looks at you." "How does he look at me?" Ji-woo's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Like you're the only person in the room. Like if anyone tried to take you away, he'd burn the world down to get you back." A shiver ran through Muna at those words. Was that devotion or possession? With Minho, she couldn't always tell the difference. As evening deepened into night, guests began to depart. Muna felt exhaustion settling into her bones, but beneath it lurked something else. Anticipation, fear, curiosity. Tonight would be their wedding night, and unlike the interrupted moments they'd shared before, there would be no walking away this time. Minho dismissed the last of the guests with barely concealed impatience. When the doors finally closed, leaving them alone in the vast mansion, the silence felt heavy with unspoken expectations. "Come," he said simply, extending his hand. She took it, her fingers trembling slightly as he led her up the grand staircase. The hallway stretched endlessly before them, each step bringing them closer to the inevitable. But when they reached his chamber, Minho paused at the threshold. "If you're not ready, tell me now." Muna searched his face, finding genuine concern beneath the commanding exterior. This man, feared by an entire city, was giving her a choice. The realization made her heart swell with something she wasn't ready to name. "I'm your wife now," she whispered. "Whatever happens tonight, I'm ready." His eyes darkened with desire, but also with something tender. "Then let me show you what it means to be truly mine." He carried her across the threshold, the door closing softly behind them. The room had been prepared with candles that cast a warm glow across silk sheets and scattered rose petals. It was beautiful, romantic even, a stark contrast to the harsh world outside these walls. Minho set her down gently, his hands moving to the delicate buttons along her spine. Each one opened slowly, deliberately, as if he were unwrapping a gift he'd waited lifetimes to receive. "You're shaking," he observed, his breath warm against her neck. "I've never—" She started, then stopped, embarrassment flooding her cheeks. "I know." His voice softened. "I'll be gentle. I promise you that." The dress pooled at her feet like melted snow, leaving her vulnerable in silk undergarments that felt too thin, too revealing. She wanted to cover herself, but his hands caught hers, bringing them to his chest instead. "Feel my heart," he commanded softly. Beneath her palms, his heartbeat thundered just as frantically as her own. The realization that she affected him this deeply gave her courage. She looked up at him, seeing past the Mafia king to the man beneath. "Show me," she whispered. "Show me everything." What followed was a dance of discovery, of gasps and whispered names, of pain that melted into pleasure, of two souls colliding in the dark. Minho kept his promise, guiding her through each moment with patience that must have cost him dearly. When it was over, they lay tangled together, her head resting on his chest as his fingers traced lazy patterns on her skin. "Are you all right?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. She nodded, too overwhelmed for words. Everything had changed between them in these stolen hours. Whatever their marriage had been before, a transaction, a rescue, it felt real now. Irrevocably, dangerously real. Morning arrived too soon, sunlight streaming through gaps in the curtains. Muna stirred awake to find Minho already dressed, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, clipped, all business. She sat up, pulling the sheets around her, suddenly self-conscious in the harsh light of day. He ended the call and turned, his expression softening when he saw her awake. "Did I wake you?" "No, What's wrong?" Minho crossed to the bed, sitting beside her. His hand cupped her face with surprising gentleness. "Nothing for you to worry about. Just business." But Muna had learned to read the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when he was troubled. "It doesn't seem like nothing." He studied her for a long moment, as if deciding how much to share. "There's a man, Kong Junki. He's been trying to undermine my projects, take what belongs to the people I protect. Last night he learned about you." Fear spiked through her. "Is that dangerous?" "Not while I'm breathing." The certainty in his voice should have comforted her, but instead it reminded her of how precarious her new life was. She had married into a world where enemies lurked in shadows, where love could become a weapon used against you. Minho seemed to sense her thoughts. He pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I won't let anyone hurt you, Muna. That's a promise." She wanted to believe him, desperately wanted to trust that his power could shield her from whatever storms were brewing. But deep down, she wondered if anyone could truly be safe in the world of the Mafia king. The days that followed settled into a strange routine. Mornings, Minho would leave early for business she wasn't allowed to ask about. Afternoons, Ji-woo would keep her company, teaching her about the household, introducing her to the other staff who treated her with a mix of respect and curiosity. Evenings belonged to them alone. Minho would return, often exhausted, but he always found time for her. They would share dinner, talk about nothing and everything, and then retire to their room where words gave way to touches that spoke volumes. Fury that blazed in his eyes whenever he thought someone had slighted her. But paradise never lasted long in Minho's world. It was Ji-woo who brought the first warning, her usually cheerful face drawn with worry. "My lady, there's been talk among the staff. A man was seen watching the mansion yesterday. One of Kong Junki's people." Muna's blood ran cold. "Does Minho know?" "His men have increased security, but..." Ji-woo hesitated. "You should be careful. Don't leave the grounds without guards." The walls that had felt like protection suddenly felt like a cage. Muna nodded, forcing a smile she didn't feel. "I'll be careful." That evening, when Minho returned, she said nothing about her conversation with Ji-woo. She didn't want to add to his burdens, didn't want him to see her fear. Instead, she let him hold her, pretending that nothing in the world could touch them here. But late that night, unable to sleep, she slipped from their bed and wandered to the window. The gardens below were peaceful, bathed in moonlight. Too peaceful. A movement caught her eye. A shadow that shouldn't have been there, sliding along the perimeter wall. Her heart stuttered. Before she could cry out, strong arms wrapped around her from behind. She tensed, then relaxed as Minho's familiar scent enveloped her. "What are you doing awake?" His voice rumbled against her ear. "I saw something. Someone." His body went rigid. In an instant, he had his phone out, barking orders in Korean too rapid for her to follow. Lights blazed across the grounds as guards mobilized. "Stay here," he commanded, already moving toward the door. "No." The word escaped before she could stop it. Don't leave me alone. He paused, conflict warring in his expression. Then he returned to her, pulling her into his arms. No one will hurt you. I swear it on my life. The guards found nothing that night, but the incident changed everything. Min-ho became more protective, almost suffocating in his vigilance. He assigned personal bodyguards to shadow her every move, insisted she stay within the mansion walls. Muna understood his fear, but she also felt her freedom slipping away. She had escaped one prison, her stepmother's house, only to find herself in another, gilded though it was. The tension came to a head one afternoon when she insisted on visiting the market with Ji-woo. Absolutely not, Min-ho said flatly, not even looking up from the papers on his desk. I'm not asking permission, Muna replied, surprised by her own boldness. I'm telling you I need to leave this house before I lose my mind. His head snapped up, eyes blazing. Do you have any idea what's out there? What Kong Joon-ki would do if he got his hands on you? Then come with me. Bring your entire army if you must. But I won't be a prisoner in my own home. For a long moment they stared at each other, wills clashing. Then, unexpectedly, Min-ho's lips curved into something almost resembling admiration. You have more courage than sense, he muttered. Fine. But my men come with us, and you don't leave my sight for even a moment. The market was everything Muna had missed, vibrant, chaotic, alive with the sounds and smells of normal life. Min-ho stayed close, his hand never leaving the small of her back, but she reveled in the simple freedom of choosing vegetables, haggling with vendors, feeling human again. They were examining fabric at a stall when Muna felt it. The prickling sensation of being watched. She turned, scanning the crowd, and locked eyes with a man across the market square. He was handsome in a cruel way, with sharp features and calculating eyes. When he saw her looking, he smiled, slow and predatory. Min-ho, she whispered urgently. He followed her gaze, and his entire body went taut. Kong Joon-ki. The man raised a hand in mock salute, then disappeared into the crowd. We're leaving. Now. Min-ho's voice left no room for argument. He practically dragged her back to the car, his guards forming a protective barrier around them. In the vehicle, Muna could feel his fury radiating like heat. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have insisted on coming. This isn't your fault. His knuckles were white where they gripped the seat. He wanted us to know he's watching. Wanted us to know he can reach you whenever he wants. What does he want? Min-ho's jaw clenched. Me. He's been trying to take my territory, my businesses, my reputation. And now he knows the fastest way to destroy me is through you. The words hung heavy between them. Muna had known, intellectually, that marrying Min-ho came with dangers. But hearing it stated so bluntly made it terrifyingly real. Maybe I should leave, she said quietly. Go somewhere he can't find me. Keep you safe. No. The word came out harsh, almost desperate. Min-ho turned to her, cupping her face in his hands. You're not going anywhere. You're mine, Muna. Mine to protect, mine to cherish, mine to keep safe. And I will burn down anyone who tries to take you from me. The intensity in his eyes should have frightened her. Instead, it made her heart race for entirely different reasons. She leaned in, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that tasted of fear and defiance and something fierce that might have been love. When they pulled apart, Min-ho rested his forehead against hers. I should have never brought you into this world. You didn't bring me. I was thrown to you, remember? But I'm choosing to stay. Something shifted in his expression, a crack in the armor he wore so carefully. Why? Why would you choose this? Choose me. Muna traced the line of his jaw, marveling at how vulnerable he looked in this moment. Because beneath the feared Mafia king, I see a man who's gentle with me, who keeps his promises, who makes me feel like I matter. And because... She took a shaky breath. Because I think I'm falling in love with you. The confession hung in the air between them. For a heartbeat, Min-ho said nothing, and Muna's heart plummeted. Had she said too much too soon? Then he kissed her again, fierce and claiming, and when he pulled back his eyes blazed with emotion. I don't deserve you. But I'm too selfish to let you go. The drive home felt shorter than it should have. As they pulled through the mansion gates, Minho's phone rang. He answered with a clipped greeting, then his expression darkened. When? How many casualties? I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ended the call, already mentally 1,000 miles away. One of my warehouses was hit. I need to handle this personally. Muna nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. Be careful. He kissed her once more, quick and hard. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone but me or my head guard. And Muna. He caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. I love you too. I should have said it first, but I'm saying it now. I love you and I'm coming back to you. Then he was gone, leaving her standing in the entrance hall with her heart full and her stomach churning with dread. The hours crawled by. Muna tried to distract herself, but every sound made her jump. Ji-woo stayed with her, chattering about inconsequential things, but even her usually bright demeanor couldn't mask the tension. It was past midnight when the phone rang. Muna's heart leaped, then sank when she saw it wasn't Minho's number. Hello, she answered cautiously. Mrs. Young. The voice was smooth, cultured, and utterly terrifying. We haven't been formally introduced. I'm Kong Joon-ki. Her blood turned to ice. How did you get this number? I have my ways. I wanted to congratulate you on your marriage. Your husband is quite the possessive man. I wonder, does he know how vulnerable you are? How easily I could reach you if I wanted to. Minho will destroy you if you touch me. Kong Joon-ki laughed, a sound like breaking glass. That's exactly what I'm counting on. You see, Mrs. Young, your husband has taken something from me. My pride, my territory, my reputation. So I'm going to take something from him. The only thing he's ever truly cared about. The line went dead. Muna's hands shook as she called Minho's number. It rang once, twice, then went to voicemail. She tried again, and again. Ji-woo, she called out, her voice barely steady. Get the guards. Now. But before Ji-woo could move, the lights went out, plunging the mansion into darkness. The darkness pressed in from all sides as Muna struggled against the ropes binding her wrists. Her head throbbed from where she'd been struck during the ambush, and the metallic taste of fear coated her tongue. The warehouse smelled of rust and neglect, shadows stretching across the concrete like grasping fingers. She heard footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. Kong Joon-ki emerged from the shadows, his smile cold and calculated. Mrs. Young, he said, his voice smooth as poisoned honey. I hope you're comfortable. We're going to be here a while. Muna lifted her chin, refusing to let him see her terror. Minho will find me. Kong Joon-ki laughed, circling her like a predator savoring its prey. Oh, I'm counting on it. That's the entire point. You see, your husband has taken everything from me. Territory, respect, power. So now I'm going to take the only thing he actually cares about. He crouched before her, his eyes gleaming with malice. Do you know what breaks a man like Young Minho? Not bullets, not threats, but watching the woman he loves suffer because of him. You're wasting your time, Muna said, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm not your weapon. We'll see about that. He stood, motioning to one of his men. Send him the photo. Let him know exactly what he stands to lose. Meanwhile, across the city, Minho stood in his study, surrounded by maps and phone records. His men had been searching for hours, following every lead, tracking every vehicle that had left the venue. His jaw was clenched so tight it ached. His hands balled into fists. When his phone buzzed, his heart stopped. The image loaded slowly, revealing Muna tied to a chair, a bruise darkening her cheek. Below it, a message burned into his vision. Come alone if you want her alive, or collect her body instead. The phone cracked under the pressure of his grip. Rage, pure and consuming, flooded through him. But beneath it lurked something far more dangerous. Fear. Ding entered the study cautiously. Boss, we've traced the location. It's the old shipping warehouse by the West Docks. But it's a trap. He wants you alone and vulnerable. Then that's exactly what he'll get, Minho said. his voice deadly calm as he checked his weapon. "Sir, that's suicide. Let us send a team first, clear the area." Minho's gaze cut through him like a blade. "If I don't come back, you burn everything Kong Junki has ever touched to the ground. But I'm getting my wife back tonight." He loaded additional magazines, slipped a blade into his boot, and headed for the door. Every step was measured, controlled. But inside, a storm raged. The memory of her smile, her laugh, the way she'd whispered that she loved him, it all fueled the fire burning in his chest. Back at the warehouse, Muna worked quietly at her bonds. The rope was thick, but she'd been paying attention during those training sessions with Ji-woo. She twisted her wrists methodically, ignoring the burn as the fibers bit into her skin. "You're quite resilient," Kong Junki observed, watching her from across the room. "I can see why he's obsessed with you. Most women would be crying by now." "I'm not most women," Muna replied, meeting his gaze with defiance. "No, you're not. That's what makes this so much more satisfying." He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling lazily in the dim light. "When he arrives, and he will, I want you to watch as I break him. I want you to see the great young Minho on his knees." "The only person getting broken tonight is you," Muna said, her voice cold. His smile faltered slightly. "Brave words for someone in your position." Outside, Minho moved through the shadows like a ghost. He'd killed the perimeter guards silently, efficiently, leaving no trace of his approach. Each step brought him closer to her, closer to ending the man who had dared to touch what was his. He reached a side entrance, his senses heightened, every nerve alive with purpose. Through a grimy window, he could see her, alive, defiant even in captivity. Relief and rage warred within him. Then he saw Kong Junki approaching her, a blade glinting in his hand. Minho's control snapped. He burst through the door, weapon raised. "Step away from her." The warehouse erupted into chaos. Kong Junki's men rushed forward, but Minho was faster. His first shot took down the closest guard. His second found another before the man could even draw his weapon. "Minho, behind you!" Muna's shout saved him from the blade aimed at his back. He spun, deflecting the attack and countering with brutal efficiency. But there were too many, and Kong Junki had been planning this for too long. Two men grabbed Minho from behind, wrenching his arms back. Another blow to his ribs forced the air from his lungs. "Minho!" Muna screamed, pulling desperately at her bonds. Kong Junki strolled forward, satisfaction gleaming in his eyes. "The mighty young Minho. Not so invincible after all, are you?" He drove his fist into Minho's stomach, then across his jaw. Blood splattered on the concrete. Muna's muffled cries filled the warehouse as one of Kong Junki's men gagged her. "This is what happens when you have a weakness," Kong Junki hissed, pulling out a blade. "You become predictable, vulnerable." But he'd made a mistake. In his arrogance, he'd gotten too close. Minho's eyes, burning with barely contained fury, met Muna's. She saw it then, the shift in his expression. He hadn't given up. He was waiting. The blade pressed against Minho's cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. That exact moment, gunfire erupted outside. Deung had ignored orders and brought backup. In the split second of distraction, Minho moved. The small blade he'd hidden in his sleeve sliced through his bonds. He grabbed Kong Junki's wrist, twisting violently until bones cracked. The man's scream echoed through the warehouse. Minho snatched the fallen weapon, pressing it against Kong Junki's temple. "Call them off. Now." But Kong Junki laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "You think this ends with me? I have a sniper positioned with a clean shot at your precious wife. Kill me and she dies." Minho's blood ran cold. His eyes darted to Muna, who was shaking her head frantically, her eyes wide with warning. "Touching, isn't it?" Kong Junki wheezed. The great Mafia king, finally powerless. Then everything happened at once. A shot rang out. Not from Minho's gun, but from somewhere high in the rafters. Muna gasped as the bullet tore through her shoulder, spinning her sideways. "No!" Minho's roar shook the building. He pulled the trigger without hesitation. Kong Joon-ki crumpled, lifeless before he hit the ground. Min-ho was already running, sliding to his knees beside Muna as his men stormed in, taking down the remaining guards. He cut through her bonds with shaking hands, catching her as she swayed. "Stay with me," he commanded, his voice breaking as he pressed his hand against the wound. "Don't you dare close your eyes, Muna." Her lashes fluttered, pain clouding her gaze. "You came," she whispered. "Always. I will always come for you." He lifted her carefully, barking orders at his men. "Clear a path. Get the car. Move." Blood soaked through his shirt as he carried her out into the night. The city lights blurred around them, sirens wailing in the distance. But all Min-ho could focus on was her shallow breathing, the way her hand weakly clutched his jacket. "Don't leave me," he whispered, his forehead pressed against hers. "You promised me a lifetime. I'm holding you to that." The hospital doors burst open as Min-ho charged through, Muna limp in his arms. Doctors and nurses swarmed immediately, trying to take her from him. "Sir, we need to take her now." His grip tightened instinctively. "I'm not leaving her. You have to let us work." A firm hand on his shoulder belonged to Dae-young. "Boss, let them save her." It took everything in him to release her, to watch as they wheeled her away behind doors he couldn't follow through. The moment she disappeared from sight, his knees nearly buckled. He sank into a waiting room chair, his hands still covered in her blood. Hours crawled by like years. Every time a doctor emerged, his heart stopped, only to plummet when they walked past him. Ji-woo arrived near dawn, her face pale with worry. "Sir, how is she?" Min-ho couldn't answer. His throat was too tight, the words trapped behind the fear that if he spoke them aloud, he'd make them real. Finally, a surgeon stepped out, removing his cap with a heavy sigh. Min-ho stood, his entire body rigid. "She's alive," the doctor said, and Min-ho's legs nearly gave out. But the bullet caused significant damage. She lost a lot of blood. "We've stabilized her, but she's slipped into a coma. We can't predict when or if she'll wake up." The words hit harder than any bullet. Min-ho's vision blurred, his chest constricting until he could barely breathe. "Can I see her?" The doctor nodded sympathetically. The room was too quiet, sterile and cold. Machines beeped rhythmically, the only proof that her heart still beat. Muna lay motionless, tubes and wires connecting her to the equipment keeping her alive. She looked so small, so fragile. Min-ho approached slowly, as if she might shatter if he moved too quickly. He took her hand, cold and limp in his, and brought it to his lips. "You're supposed to be scolding me for being overprotective," he whispered, his voice cracking. "Not lying here like this." He pulled a chair close, unwilling to leave her side. "I should have protected you better. I should have been faster, smarter. This is my fault, Muna. All of it." Days blurred into nights. Min-ho refused to leave except when forced by doctors. He held her hand, talked to her, read to her from the books she'd been collecting. He told her about their plans, the life they were supposed to build together. "You have to come back to me," he pleaded one night, exhaustion making his voice raw. "I don't know how to exist in a world without you in it." In the strange white space between consciousness and dreams, Muna opened her eyes. Soft mist surrounded her, warm and weightless. She stood in a field of white flowers, their petals glowing with ethereal light. "Muna!" She spun at the familiar voice. Her parents stood before her, looking exactly as she remembered from childhood photos. Her mother's warm smile, her father's gentle eyes. "Mom! Dad!" Tears streamed down her face as she ran to them, collapsing into their embrace. "We've missed you so much," her mother whispered, stroking her hair. Her father cupped her face tenderly. "You've grown so strong, little one. We're so proud of you." "I don't want to go back," Muna sobbed. "Everything hurts so much. Can't I just stay here with you?" Her mother shook her head gently. "There's someone waiting for you, fighting for you. A man who would tear the world apart to keep you safe." Min-ho's face flashed in her mind, his desperate voice calling her name, his hands covered in her blood as he carried her. The love you found is rare and precious, her father said softly. You can't abandon it. Not yet. But I'm so tired, Muna whispered. We know, darling. Her mother kissed her forehead. But your story isn't finished. Go back to him. Live the life we never got to see. The light began to fade, their forms dissolving like morning mist. Muna reached for them desperately. Please, not yet. We love you, they whispered together. Now go. Live. Minho's head rested on the bed beside Muna's hand, exhaustion finally claiming him after 3 sleepless days. He'd refused to go home, surviving on coffee and sheer willpower. Then he felt it. The smallest movement. Her fingers twitched against his palm. His head shot up, eyes wide. Muna! Her lashes fluttered once, twice. A soft sound escaped her lips. I'm here, he said urgently, his hand cradling her face. I'm right here. Come back to me. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then gradually finding his face. Minho, she breathed, her voice barely audible. He almost laughed, tears streaming freely down his face for the first time since childhood. You came back. I saw them, she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. My parents. They told me to come back to you. He pressed his forehead to hers, his shoulders shaking. Thank God. Thank God you're here. You look terrible, she managed, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. A broken laugh escaped him. And you look like you've been through hell. But you're alive. That's all that matters. Her hand weakly gripped his shirt. Don't let go. Never, he vowed, his voice fierce. I'm never letting you go again. Recovery was slow and painful. Minho became her constant shadow, refusing to delegate her care to anyone else. He helped her eat when her hands shook too much, held her steady when she tried to walk, sat with her through the nightmares that woke her gasping in the dark. You don't have to do all this, Muna protested weakly as he carefully spoon-fed her soup. Yes, I do, he said simply. I almost lost you. I'm not taking any chances with your recovery. Jiwoo visited daily, her relief palpable every time she saw Muna awake. You scared us all half to death, my lady. Muna squeezed her hand. I'm sorry. I'm here now, though. And you're staying, Jiwoo said firmly. No more heroics. At least not until you're fully healed. When they finally returned home, the mansion felt different. Brighter somehow. The staff had prepared everything perfectly, but Minho carried Muna to their room himself, settling her gently on the bed. I can walk, you know, she said, but there was no real protest in her voice. Humor me, he replied, adjusting the pillows behind her. That night, as they lay in bed, Muna felt the distance he was maintaining. He lay on his side, close but not touching, as if afraid she might break. Minho, she said softly. You need to rest, he said immediately. You're still healing. She rolled carefully toward him, wincing slightly. It's been weeks. I'm not made of glass. You nearly died. His voice was rough, haunted. Because I wasn't careful enough. I won't make that mistake again. Muna reached out, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. What happened wasn't your fault. And I'm here now. Alive. I want to feel alive, Minho. His eyes darkened with conflicting emotions. Desire warred with restraint. If I hurt you. You won't, she interrupted, moving closer. I trust you completely. He studied her face, searching for any sign of doubt. Finding none, he carefully pulled her into his arms, his touch gentle but sure. I love you, he whispered against her hair. More than I knew was possible. Then show me, she replied, her lips finding his. What followed was tender and slow, a reaffirmation of everything they'd almost lost. Minho treated her like something precious, his touches reverent, his kisses deep but careful. When pain flickered across her face, he immediately stilled. I'm okay, she assured him. Don't stop. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her skin. I'm never letting you out of my sight again, he murmured. She laughed softly. That might be difficult. I don't care. You're too important to risk. But even as peace settled over them, Min-ho's mind was already working. Kong Joon-ki was gone, but the threats to his empire to her wouldn't end. He needed to be smarter, stronger, more vigilant. The next morning, Muna found Min-ho in his study, surrounded by reports and documents. Couldn't sleep? She asked from the doorway. He looked up, his expression softening when he saw her. Just tying up loose ends. She moved closer, studying the papers. What kind of loose ends? The kind that ensure what happened to you never happens again. His jaw tightened. I've been too complacent, too comfortable. That ends now. Min-ho, I won't lose you again, Muna. Whatever it takes, I'll make sure you're safe. She placed her hand over his. We'll be safe together. But I won't live in a cage, even a gilded one. He pulled her into his lap, his arms wrapping around her protectively. Then we'll find a balance. But you have to promise me something. What? No more heroics. If danger comes, you run. You hide. You let me handle it. Muna pulled back, meeting his eyes. I can't promise that. If you're in danger, I won't just stand by. We're in this together, remember. The argument that followed was their first real fight, voices raised, frustrations boiling over. But it ended with him kissing her desperately, and her clinging to him just as tightly. You're impossible, he muttered against her lips. So are you, she replied. Guess we're perfect for each other. 6 months passed. Muna's shoulder healed, leaving only a faint scar. But more than her body had changed. She'd grown harder, more aware of the dangers lurking in Min-ho's world. She trained with his guards, learned to shoot with deadly accuracy, studied the routes and safe houses he'd established. She's a natural, Daeung told Min-ho one afternoon, watching Muna disarm an opponent twice her size. You've created a formidable partner, boss. Min-ho watched her move with lethal grace, pride and concern warring in his chest. I've created a target, he said quietly. But when Muna approached, flushed with exertion and smiling, he couldn't help but smile back. She was alive, strong, and his. That was enough. One evening, as they prepared for another business event, Muna caught Min-ho watching her with an unreadable expression. What? She asked, adjusting her dress. I was just thinking, he said slowly, about how different things are from that first night we met. She turned to face him fully. When you chose me from all those desperate women. When I saw someone brave pretending not to be terrified, he corrected. Someone who captured my attention from the moment she walked in. Muna crossed to him, sliding her arms around his neck. Look at us now. Who would have thought? I knew, he said, his hands settling on her waist. The moment I saw you, something told me you'd change everything. For better or worse. He kissed her softly. Definitely for better. Even when you drive me insane. She laughed, the sound filling the room with warmth. That's what I'm here for. As they left for the event, Min-ho kept her close, his hand never leaving the small of her back. The world around them was still dangerous, still uncertain. But they'd survived the worst together. And that was just the beginning. What happens next in Muna and Min-ho's journey? Will new threats emerge? How will they navigate the dangerous world of power and crime together? And what surprises await them in the future? Don't miss the next episode dropping soon. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you want to see happen next? And if you're loving this story, share it with someone who needs a dose of romance, danger, and passion. See you in the next one.